Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me. Today, I want to talk to you about resistance and coherence. So, for me, a lot of the work that I'm doing when I'm practicing self-inquiry, emotional somatic inquiry, is I'm feeling into parts of myself that are resistant. Either I don't want to feel them, there's something I don't want to express, or there's something I can't let go of. There's something stuck in my experience. And I think one of the best ways to look at this is just looking at like something in nature, something that has natural flow, like water. I didn't even think about this, but here I am in front of this aquarium, and water is natural, it's flowing. If a fish is flowing through the water, it's it's actually finding the path of least resistance, right? But there's always resistance. There is a drag on the energy. Or if you look at a river, there's the river following gravity and flowing down towards the ocean, right? Towards the lower elevation. And it's being supported, but along the path of the river, there are the banks. The banks guide the water this way or that way. And they're actually providing resistance. The banks themselves are a form of resistance. Or if you put, like, say, a dam in the river, you get a big force of resistance and there's a buildup of energy, right? The water, right? The water level rises. This is a very um, clear metaphor for what happens when we have resistance to feeling emotion, a resistance to expressing it, or a resistance to letting it go, is that there's a kind of buildup of the content of the energy of that. And the way that it seems we bring resistance to completion, the way we alchemize it, the way that we integrate resistance is by finding coherence. And if we didn't have a real method for this, it would be kind of a waste of time to talk about because, just to say, oh, yeah, well, just be coherent is sort of like imagining that our resistance doesn't have some kind of grasp on us. So, how do we find coherence? The answer of how we find coherence is you learn to agree with resistance. You learn to acknowledge it. You actually flow with it. A good example of this is say I've got a feeling. All right, I've got a feeling in my solar plexus. It's a crunchy feeling. I don't like the way it feels. That right there, I don't like it. Is a form of resistance, right? Because there is a part of me saying, I don't want to embrace and feel this feeling, right? Which in so much of the wisdom around feeling our feelings is about embracing. It's about welcoming. It's about inviting things in and having a warmth and just holding a space for feeling, right? When I feel that I don't actually like that feeling, it's not actually authentic to just welcome it all in. In fact, there will be this seething part that's still there that says, no, I don't like this. I don't want to feel this. And now here's the wisdom is, of course, this is another part to welcome, right? And there are many ways to do that. One such way to do that is just to say the thank you statement. Say, thank you for arising. You're welcome to be here. You can be here as long as you like resistance. You don't have to stop resisting. You can keep on resisting as much as you want, as long as you want, and just stay open to that. And you might notice that some part of yourself disagrees with that statement. Well, even in that disagreement, it's like, well, okay, disagreeing part. Thank you. You're welcome to be here. You can stay here as long as you like. And as you kind of let in this resistance, as you accept it, as you welcome it, it might soften, it might kind of cool down. Now, one other method for working with this energy is actually to engage it and keep it and sort of make it true. Agree to the resistance. Just say, you know what? I don't want to feel this. I don't like it. And the way that works in my experience is if I have a feeling of resistance and it's saying I resist it, I might just test out that feeling. See how true is it that I actually don't want to feel this? And I might say into the feeling that I don't want to feel, that I'm aware of that, say, oh, I want to feel this. I love feeling this. This feels great. And listening in to see if some part of me disagrees with that statement. What happens when I disagree with it is that the part that is saying, I don't want to feel this. I don't like it. I I hate this. I don't like this. I don't like this. That energy comes up even more. It actually it's not being created, right? I'm not creating new energy. I'm not like trying to, I don't know, create new resistance, but by saying the opposite, the opposing statement, no, I like the way this feels. There's a somatic truth that surfaces and says, no, I don't like this. I don't want to feel this. Oh, I don't want to feel this. And that at that point, as soon as that feeling arises and becomes clearer, this is an opportunity to find coherence. Because actually, it's by flowing in the arrangement and the agreement of that feeling, going with the flow of that river, that is actually how we find the least resistance to our resistance. So, simply put, your resistance isn't your enemy. It's actually it's like the banks of the river. And when you attend to the banks of the river and you cohere to the banks of the river, you're not in as much resistance. You find the flow and you can move through that resistance. Eventually, by this acknowledging process, you come to a relationship with this resistance that feels like, oh, yes, I actually accept this resistance. I accept this part of myself. And that again, that acceptance is like the form of coherence. It eventually creates a space and a clarity within to maybe go beyond it, to relax that feeling. One other way of looking at this is, so if a resistance is habitual, I habitually don't feel my feelings. I habitually don't express the thing that I really want to say, but I have resistance. I basically have fear to do that. It's almost like that resistance has become a habitual form of contraction. Here's the stimulus. I feel the thing. I want to say the thing. These are the stimulus response. Don't don't do it. So this contraction, this form of resistance, right, has habitually just contracted based on the stimulus. So that means that anytime you go out, anywhere you go, stimulus, response, stimulus, response. It's an unconscious mechanism. It just keeps on playing itself out, and you can't actually stop it playing out. It's written into the grooves of your brain. If you try to not do that, you're actually creating a further resistance by resisting the contraction itself. And you're actually creating another layer of saying, this is wrong. This resistance is bad, right? When actually the resistance is saying, well, I just don't want to feel these. I don't want to do this. Now, say, ultimately, you want to be able to get to this stuff, right? You want to be able to feel your feelings. You want to be able to express yourself fully. But when resistance is staying contracted and it's habituated and it's a stimulus response mechanism, no amount of resisting your resistance is actually going to support a process of coming to those things. So the way that we do this is again by cohering, by actually sticking to the resistance, by flowing in it, flowing with the coherence. So again, I have a feeling I don't want to feel it. I say, no, I want to feel this feeling. No, I don't. I really don't want to feel this. That's what this thing is saying. I don't want to feel this. I don't want to feel this. And when we learn to agree to it, it's almost like we take this unconscious mechanism that itself just kind of goes like this. Whenever the stimulus shows up, we take that response and we actually agree Yes, I want this. I want to contract. I want to protect myself. I want to shut this feeling down. And over time, this becomes a conscious mechanism, right? See, because it was playing out unconsciously, stimulus, response. And now I can feel this and I can acknowledge it and I can say, yes, I want to resist. I'm scared. I don't want to feel this. 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 Something over time becomes much more conscious and aware of the mechanism of this is moving. I'm watching it. I'm even participating in it. Right? I've made it coherent by agreeing to the statement that it says. Now, it's not about becoming so fully identified with that you're like, yeah, shake hands with your resistance and never look back. It's like keep on making the agreement conscious because you're unconsciously agreeing to it when it just plays out stimulus response, stimulus response. It's just that's an unconscious agreement. So you make the agreement conscious. I'm agreeing, yes, resist. Don't feel this. I don't want to feel this. Shut it down. Shut it down. Whatever it says, it's there. And over time, it starts to become apparent. It's like, what am I doing? Like, why am I doing this? What am I getting out of this? Is a question you might ask yourself. Like, what's the benefit of this resistance? And as this kind of grows, this awareness of the whole mechanism grows, a number of things happen. One is that you're in the situation where here's the stimulus. One of those things happens, you have something you don't want to feel or something you don't want to say, and suddenly you're aware of your resistance. It's a conscious moment of like, ooh, I don't want to feel that. Whereas before, it would have just been habitual, unconscious mechanism. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm doing great. The same feeling shows up and it's a conscious one. Oh, I don't want to tell you how I'm feeling. Now, the next layer of that is that as you become aware of that and you kind of question, what is this doing for me? What am I getting out of this? It it starts to loosen. You'll see after some time of working with cohering, agreeing to the resistance, that it softens, it weakens, it starts to dissolve, it starts to become less personal. You might even start to feel like, God, I'm so sick of that. It's a form of resistance, but it's in a like a learned sense of like, yeah, this isn't really working for me anymore. I don't want to do this. And at that point, it's becoming loose enough, it's becoming possible that you'll just start to like let go of your resistance naturally. You won't be feeling any sense of like devotion or like natural, like, yeah, this is true. No, you'll see it like this is a habit. This isn't really me anymore. This is just the mechanism of my mind. So that like just like this hand shows us, it's like here's the contraction. I agree, I'm contracting, contract, contract. You start to feel these gaps in between the agreement. There's space that's developing. All of this is to loosen up the unconscious, deeply rooted and gripping mechanism of the mind body, and make it conscious, make it possible to feel it, possible to recognize this is actually just another part of me that is avoiding feeling something and or avoiding expressing some part of myself. And by cohering, by agreeing to the resistance, actually meet it. You meet it. Actually, by acknowledging, by a sort of relationality with that's like loving, right? Because resistance is just like another feeling. If you hate the feeling of resistance, well, it shuts down, right? It doesn't open, it doesn't dissolve, it doesn't show its cards. It actually just becomes more repressed, more hidden, and therefore you embody more and more of that avoidance of that resistance. So this is just a little bit about resistance and coherence. If you're interested in learning more, please reach out to me and we can do a one-on-one somatic inquiry session. I'm also teaching somatic inquiry, so feel free to check me out.